Uh, okay, so now we will do a little bit of computation, having given you some. So what is our goal? Our goal will be to show this. Okay, so in the first we will show this and then we will show this. Okay, and I'll try to be as quick as possible. So there's something called power mean inequalities. I don't know whether how many of you have seen. So if a p is a non-zero real number and x1, xn are positive real numbers, then the generalized mean or power mean with exponent p of this positive real number is given by this function. So mp of x1 to xn is basically you take the mean of pth power and take the root of this. Okay. Okay. And so what is known about these things is the following. Okay. So if P is less than equal to Q, then the value of the P, what do you call, power mean of P is less than equal to power mean of Q. Okay. Okay. Now, do people care about power mean? So let's try to understand what is M1 of X1 to Xn. Can you tell me? What is M1 of X1 to Xn?
It's
This
just
is
the
going to be?
arithmetic mean.
This is the arithmetic mean. Excellent. And what is, let's call it M0 as limit P tends to 0. Then what is this? Can someone tell me? Or P tends to infinity? No, that's P tends to 0. What will we get then? Can you tell me? As P tends to 0, what will you get? No?
Maybe sum of all elements.
No, that is arithmetic mean. That is like P equal to 1. It's fun. Okay.
If any of the xi's is
Okay. Okay.
zero,
So
then
what?
Achha, they're all positive. My bad.
They all are positive. Yes, they are all positive real numbers. Okay. I mean, it requires a bit of hard work. Okay, but this is not. But if you do a little bit of hard work, this is geometric mean actually. This converges to geometric mean. Okay, so this is like x1 plus x2 plus xn. This is what you will get. Okay.
Shouldn't be the product.
Hmm?
Shouldn't it be the product?
Product of what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay. Okay, so you get lots of different things from here. Okay, you can also get harmonic mean by putting p equal to -1. Okay, and things of this. Okay, you look at what you call Wikipedia. There's a very nice, and the reason why I told you because I found this inequality very useful in the kind of things which I do at times, or especially in this estimates thing. I've really found it very useful. So I thought that there are alternate way of proving this our inequality, but I will use power inequality. Somehow I liked its application, and proofs are also not very hard, so you can just check the Wikipedia. Okay. Okay. So what we'll be interested in is for all k greater than equal to 1. Okay. So if p is less than equal to q, right? So now what is this? This is basically k equal to, this is p equal to 1, right here, right? This is p equal to 1, right? 1 by n summation. So if I take any k greater than equal to 1, which is like q greater than equal to 1, then we are going to get this. Agreed? So this is just once we have proved this is just a corollary. Okay. So what it tells us that if you look at your arithmetic mean, right? Arithmetic mean is less than equal to any power mean for k greater than equal to 1. This is all that it says. Okay. Okay. And so let's see how I'm going to use this. Or okay. So let me. Okay. Paper. or let me do this, maybe add page. Okay. Okay, so let me compute you variance of y square. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Variance of y square is, so I'm going to do, you could also do the way we computed. So, the way we computed, what is that called? What I'm computing. Okay, I'm going to not compute variance of y square. I'm going to compute to expectation of y square, and from there we will get. Okay, so we could have computed expectation of y square the way we computed expectation of y. Okay, by doing things. But I mean, do you remember how we did variance of y square? How did we computed expectation of y square? So we had this summation going from 1 to n. Agreed, right? And then we said, hey, like these are the possible values can you take? And we had this summation going from, let's say, okay. Okay, so what did we do? Let's see. Okay, so now we need to be a bit more careful, people. Okay, so what I mean by careful. So now what I'm telling you that these are the possible values y could take. So let's go from I equal to 1 to n, j equal to 1 to frequency of I, right? This is what it is. Now each of this term is achieved 1 over m times, and what is the value it takes now? It takes m times. Now our function is, say, let's say I'm going to call it L, okay, not J, L, okay. So it is going to take function L power k, right? And L minus 1 to the power k whole square. Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Right? So I'm going over each this thing, grouping them together with respect to what value they take, and each of those values are like we will get with probability this, but what is the value of object is this is what we are going to get. Agreed? Okay. Now this is I equal to 1 to n, but now we have m square, right? We don't have m that things will get cancelled. So what are we going to get? So we will get and m from here, and summation L equal to 1 to fi, okay? And what are we going to get here? I'm going to write this Lk minus L minus 1 to the power k, Lk minus L minus 1 to the power k. Okay, I have done this. Okay, now notice that m is common to everybody. So m could actually come outside our summation completely, right? So I could write this as m summation going from I equal to 1 to n, summation L equal to 1 to fi, Lk minus L minus 1 to the power k, another Lk, L minus 1 to the power k. Okay? All good? Right? Now, this is the following inequality we have. Ak minus Bk for, like, but this only happens for A greater than equal to B greater than equal to 0. So, but Ak minus Bk we can write as A minus B. Okay? A to the power k minus 1. Right? A power k minus 2, b, a power k minus 3, b squared, so on and so forth, bk minus 1. Right? Now, look, for a greater than equal to b greater than equal to 0, what can we write this? I can write this is less than equal to a minus b. So a is greater than b, right? So each of this term is at most a power k minus 1, right? And there are k of them. So can I write this? Is this fine? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So now I'm going to estimate one of these terms with this inequality which I wrote to you just now. Okay. So what can I say then? Well, I can say this is less than equal to mk. Okay. Because there are k terms inside. And let's see what I want to say. Okay. And what I wanted to say. Okay. right? So this is the term we have substituted by, what is a minus b is like l minus 1 is 1. So that is 1. So nothing happens. And I have, so here it is going to be k to the power l to the power k minus 1, right? So k is common to everybody, so you take out common. So what you're going to get is l k minus 1, l k minus l minus 1 to the power k. Agreed? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you some very nice trick, and this is a very clever trick of Elon and co. So what they do at this point of time, so let's write down I equal to 1 to n, okay? And now what I'm going to do is that for each of them, what is the last term here, right? Last term is going to be, notice. So what I mean by last term here, so let me write it down here, what I mean by this. I'm going to write down this as fi k minus 1 fi to the power k plus summation going from L equal to 1 to fi L power k minus 1 Lk, I will tell you how we reach this, minus L plus 1 to the power k minus 1 Lk. Okay? Okay. So how did we achieve this? Okay. So let me write down one term for you from here. So if you expand this term, what are you going to get? This L to the power k minus 1 is going to multiply to both. So first, let's use some different color just to understand this. So what I'm going to write, 1 k minus 1 time 1k. Next, 1 k minus 1, 0 to the power k. Agreed? Next, 2 power L is like gets 1 more incremented, right? So it is 2. So I'm going to get 2 power k minus 1. And what is this? 2 power k minus 2 power k minus 1 and 1 power k, okay? Plus 3 power k minus 1, 3 power k minus 3 power k minus 1, 2 power k, right? And so on and so forth. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to club these things, okay? I'm trying to club what I'm going to try. So what is this? L power k minus 1 Lk, L plus 1 to the power k minus 1 Lk. So I'm clubbing these guys with respect to the power. So I'm going to club this guy with which one? You tell me. I will go to club this with which one? This guy, right? They have 2 power k common, right? But what happens if you club these things? Notice. Now, if you club these things, what are you going to get? 2 power k minus 1, say 2 power k into 2 power k minus 1 minus 3 power k minus 1, 2 power k, 3 power k minus 1. Can you say something about this quantity? Can you say? So look, this is nothing but equal to 2 power k minus 1 minus 3 power k minus 1. Can you say something about this? I say this is less than equal to 0. Right? Because look, this quantity is larger than this quantity, right? Right? So similarly, you could have, then what will you do? So this term is done to this. Similarly, the term which will come here is going, you would have done this term, group this term with so on and so forth. This is what you will do. So every other term gets termed, you pair them up such that the value of them is at most 0, which implies that this term here can be forgotten, right? So what is left after that? Okay. So then what is left after that is basically less than equal to mk summation I equal to 1 to n and fi k minus 1 fi to the power k. So what is this? What is this term? This is equal to mk summation I equal to 1 to n and can I write this fi 2k minus 1, right? Which is equal to k times what is m? Is basically f1, right? Summation 1 to n, like all this, like f1, like frequency, like you sum each of the frequencies, number of items, times f 2k minus 1. Okay, this is our goal. we achieve this. Do you agree? K times F1 times F2K minus 1, right? This is what we wanted to achieve. So we have achieved the first inequality, but why this is bounded by K n to the power 1 minus K Fk square is not yet clear. Okay? Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, but all I computed is expectation of y square, right? But now we were interested in computing variance of y, which is, what is this? Expectation of y square minus expectation of y whole square, right? But this is some positive quantity, so you forget it. So you can upper bound variance of y with expectation of y square, and we just now saw that it is upper bounded by K F1 times F2K minus 1. Okay? Okay. And like you could have also shown this inequality using some, okay? Anyway, with other inequality, but I chose to tell you with this. Okay, now I want to do something different for you. Okay, now what is happening here is that, so now we know that variance of y, okay, is K times F1 times F2K minus 1, right? But what is our expectation? Expectation of y is Fk whole square. So we want everything, whatever is there, in terms of expectation of x square times something, so that if we can write variance of y in terms of something times expectation of y whole square. So this is always the goal, because then it tells us, oh, how much are you trying to deviate, so that if I wanted to make this deviation to constant, how many times, how many items do I need to take? Okay, 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 good. So let's try to see if we can manage to do this. Okay, hopefully we can. Okay, look, I'm not very great at doing this computation, so, but I'm still making my hands dirty. See, all I'm trying to do by showing this to you is that you need to make your hands dirty, okay? There is no other way of doing these things. So let m be a max of I between 1 to n, okay, fi. Fine? Then can I say the following? M to the power k is less than equal to summation I equal to 1 to n fi to the power k. Is this fine? Do you agree to this? No?
I agree.
Why?
Also because one of these Fy will be M, and then we are
Exactly.
also adding other terms.
Exactly. Thank you. At least someone is awake. Okay. So bear with me for 5 minutes, and then I will tell you something more different, interesting. But so there will be two aspects of any of these algorithms. One, the algorithm itself, which is very interesting and nice. So people who wish to implement, do anything should be awake. And other people, why this is correct is another aspect, which I hope it also motivates other set of people. Okay. So now I want to understand summation I equal to n fi, right? And then I have another one. So if you remember, we had this, what is this? F1 times F2K minus 1, right? So I'm going to write one F, from here I'm going to take one Fk minus 1, and I'm going to upper bound. So, okay, let me tell in a minute anyway. Summation I equal to 1 to n Fi 2K minus 1, right? This is what is I'm trying to understand. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is summation I equal to 1 to n Fi, right? Now, look at this. I mean, what can I write? F1 to the power, okay. Okay, fine. So what I want to do for lot of these terms, okay, I want to, what is m? Is the max of these fi, right? So what, can't I write this? This is less than equal to m to the power k minus 1 fi to the power k, right? I can write this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if this is what we can, then I can write this summation I equal to n fi m k minus 1, okay, and fi to the power k. Okay, I'm not writing I equal to 1 now, I equal to 1 all the time. But now I would like to substitute this term by how? So look, from here, what can I say? I can say that m is upper bounded by summation I equal to 1 to n fi to the power k 1 over k, which implies m to the power k minus 1 is upper bounded by this quantity k minus 1 divided by k. Okay, so I'm going to substitute that here. Okay, so now summation I equal to 1 to n fi summation fi to the power k 2k minus 1 divided by k. Just from here we'll get, no, k minus 1 divided by k, okay, and summation fi to the power k. Agreed? This is what we have at this point of time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, but these two terms can be merged, right? This term and this term can be merged. So what I'm going to write, summation I equal to 1 to n fi, and this is nothing but summation fi to the power k 1 plus k minus 1 is like 2k minus 1 over k. Okay. Now, what I know about this term, look, this is our arithmetic mean. So every arithmetic mean is upper bounded by, right, summation fi to the power k by n to the power 1 over k, right? If k has to be greater than or equal to 1. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what is summation fi? If I use this inequality, what can I write summation fi here in terms of k? This is where we use this, right? So now I can write summation I equal to 1 to n if I is less than equal to, let's say,
N into 1 minus 1 by k.
exactly. So now you are saying from where it is coming,
Yes, sir.
right? This is fine, which is equal to n to the power 1 minus 1 by k summation fi to the power k. Agreed? Okay. So let's go and substitute that, right? So this is what I can substitute here. Then what I'm going to get from here? Well, then I'm going to get n to the power 1 minus 1 over k, right? And summation, oh God, am I making any sense at all? Let's see. Fi k, okay, this is 1, and no, there should be 1 over k here, no? Yeah, this is correct, 1 over k. Okay, to the power 1 over k, right? Summation I equal to 1 to n fi to the power k 2k minus 1 over k. So what are we going to get now? Did we get what we wanted?
Yes, sir.
Right? What will be this? This is basically summation fi to the power k whole square.
So the square.
Okay, which is nothing but n to the power 1 minus 1 by k to the power fk square, right? So we are able to show to you that like f1 into f2k minus 1 is upper bounded by the quantity of our interest, right? So people also use convexity to do this, but we can show that this quantity is at most n to the power 1 minus k fk square. And once we have shown this, we are all good, okay? Okay, so what we have been able to show that AMS estimator shows that fk can be estimated in order n to the power 1 minus 1 by k space. Of course, if you wanted some epsilon and delta, you better add k n to the power 1 minus k 1 over epsilon square log 1 over delta, right? This is for first boosting, and this is for the second boosting, right? Parallel median. Okay. So the question is, can one do better than these things? And unfortunately, this is what the state of affair is, that for F2 and for any k between 1 and 2, one can do in polylog in space, okay? But for k greater than equal to 2, space complexities can be slightly improved. Look, we gave 1 minus 1 by k, but you can do it in 1 minus 2 by k polylog n, which is known to be essentially tight, okay? So this is actually in some sense very tight bound, okay? So if you notice, there is some sort of phase transition at k equal to 2. So for a k equal to 2, we are able to do it up to k equal to 2, we are able to do in polylog in space. But the moment k becomes strictly greater than 2, we need the kind of space we just derived for the estimation, okay? Okay, so we also need to take some phase transition at this point of time. So it's a good point to ask question before we learn another algorithm. Questions, comments? Okay, so should we go forward? If yes, then put +1. And if you have been, what is that called? If you have been off, it's a good time to get up. Because we'll change track and we'll learn something really funky algorithm. Okay, so I'd request you to wake up. Okay. Good. Okay. All of you are awake. Happy news. So now we are going to do F2 estimation. So now I'm going to show to you how can we do F2 estimation. Look, our algorithms had two parts. One was the algorithm itself, which are very simple, easy to understand, easy to implement. And the other was the estimation. Basically, the variance calculation becomes a cumbersome. So I just wanted to show to you, at least for once, how things are. Okay. So what is our goal? Our goal is to compute F2 in a small space. Okay. So if you apply generic AMS scheme, we will get something like order root n log n space. I mean, like, of course, there's some epsilon delta, but forget it for now. Okay. Can we do it better? Okay. And in the same paper, the AMS paper of Alon, Matthias, and Szegedy, they also gave this very beautiful algorithm to do F2 estimation. Okay. Okay. So let's do F2 estimation. Okay. So basically, up until now, most of the applications in computer science, you will see 2-wise independent, 3-wise independent. But hey, here it is a 4-wise independent application. So you basically choose a function from n to -1 to 1 from a 4-wise independent hash family H. Okay. So again, if you're looking for a 4-wise hash functions, how many elements do you need? Some B0, B1, B2, B3. Okay. So some 4 log n bits. Okay. Okay, and what are we going to do? So we are only going to store one number, Z0. And while a string is not empty, what I'm going to do, I'm adding, if suppose AJ is current item, I add to Z basically Z plus H of AI, H of AJ. Okay, and at the end I output Z square. So basically you're storing Z. You're basically adding either +1 or -1 when a new item arrives, right? Because this hash hashes elements to either -1 or 1. So this is also called some kind of tug of war, you know. So like and this is like 4-wise independent random. So with probability half, each of these elements has been assigned -1 or +1. And what is happening? So in one side, you are trying to get the value. Other side, someone else is trying to increase the value. So just to run an example, let's say, look, I don't know whether this is like a good hash function or not, but let's see. Suppose h of 1 is 1, h of 2, okay, so first let me set up an example. Okay, so suppose our string is the following: 2, 5, 1, 10, 3, 1, 2, 5, 5, 5. Okay, this is my string. Okay, and suppose my hash function is h of 1 is 1, h of 2 is say -1. Okay, say h of 3 is -1. H of 4 is, I don't know, we don't need, so forget it. Question mark, nobody has told us. H of 5, let's say put 1. We also have h of 10, let's put -1. Okay. Okay. So now what is happening to this algorithm? Can someone tell me? What will the value of Z? How will the Z look? Initially Z is 0. Can you tell me the updates to Z after each item? What are you going to say after 2? Anybody? Look, I'm running an algorithm. It's not something very big. Tell me. Hello?
So that would be -1.
Here?
Yes, sir.
No, at after 5.
0.
0.
Okay? Because you got, okay? After 1. What will be after 1?
So 1.
1.
1,
After 10?
0,
0,
After 3?
-1,
minus 1,
1?
0,
2?
-1,
minus 1,
0,
Again?
0, 1, 2.
Only
1,
1? Okay. So suppose we had another 5 then. Then we would have
3.
got 3. Okay. So what will be output?
9.
What is our 9? But what would have been F2 square? So how many numbers are there which is value is 1? I think 2 or 3.
2.
There are 3 ones. Okay, there are 2 ones, right? So say 4, right? And how many 2s are there? Only 2s are there. 2 2s are there. So 4. How many 3s are there? 1. So 1. 5 is not there. So 0 square. 6 is there. Okay, forget it. Those are not there. 6.
So we have a 10 directly.
Yeah, so something like 1 square. So how much is we get? Some
10.
10. Not bad, no?
Yeah.
No, there's something wrong happening here. I don't think this is-
5, sir.
right?
5 appears 4 times, so 16. No, so like,
Yeah, there should be some 16 also, something like 26, right? Not so good. But look, my hash function was like, I just made it. Okay. This may not be a 4-byte independent hash function for all that you care. You get my point?
And the stream should also be large. I think so.
Yeah, that's true. But all I wanted to show is to you that, hey, this is how my algorithm runs. Okay. Okay. So isn't this like all you're doing is like +-1, +-1. At the end, you output this number and they say, hey, it's a very good estimate to F2, right? Isn't this very surprising algorithm in that sense? That it even works.
Very sleek.
Very sleek, right? Okay. Now, so let's try to understand this algorithm. So one way to think of this algorithm will be, forget about space or something, because for the space we have this. So suppose you had n random variable, which are 4-byte independent and taking values between -1 and +1. So you must have seen this max cut algorithm, right? Yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you see a max cut? Yeah. So basically you had n random variable, which takes some values here and there, and you created something interesting out of that. Okay. So now they take -1 +1 and they're 4-byte independent. So if this is how it is, then what is happening? So Z is 0, while stream is not empty and AJ is a current item. What are you going to do? What are you doing? To Z, you're going to just update YAJ. So you know what is the meaning of this Y1 to N be -1 +1 random variable that are 4. So basically it just means that you have fixed up the value. So you have guessed this H in some sense, and like Y1, Y2, Yn, you fix this. Like you think of this as a function. So okay, this is somewhat is -1 +1, like some instantiation has happened. Okay. So this is what the algorithm is going to do. Okay. You could also work with H, it wouldn't matter. So whenever I write Yi, think of this as a H of I. Okay. So let's say Yi is equal to Hi. What you call H of I. Okay. Now what I'm doing then at every item, you're just adding Yi to your current Z. Is it this? And at the end, we would outputting this Z square. Okay. Now let's try to understand let's do the analysis. So what are we outputting? So what is our Z? So Z is basically the sum which we are storing. What are you doing? You're multiplying. How many times you're multiplying Yi? Number of times its frequency. Right? Look, how many times will you be adding -1 corresponding to a number 3? As many times as it appears, right? Is that clear to you? Look, here, how many times did you add -1 corresponding to number 5? or whatever its value was. How many times did you add +1 for corresponding to 5?
F5
F5.
in the
right?
frequency of 5.
Exactly. So Z is nothing but Fi and this Yi, which is nothing but you can think of this as a H of I. Okay? Do you agree to this? This is what Z stores.
Yes, sir.
And then we are outputting Z square, right? So what are we, like to prove that this is nothing but a unbiased estimator, what is the first thing we need to show? That expectation of Z square is F2 square, right? Or F2, this is what, okay? So
Yeah.
let's show that. So what is an expectation of Yi? Okay, let's see. Okay, so you tell me, okay, so what will be an expectation of Z square, right? Expectation of Z square is going to be expectation of summation Fi Yi whole square. Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what is this? This is basically you write down expectation of summation I going from 1 to n Fi square, agreed, plus 2 times summation agreed. I have done nothing at this point of time. But now you can apply linearity of expectation. This is nothing but expectation of summation I equal to n to n Fi squared plus 2 times summation 1 less than equal to I less than j less than equal to n. Basically Fi Fj, expectation of Yi and expectation of Yj. Here we use the fact that our random variables are 2-wise independent, 4-wise independent. So in particular, they are 2-wise independent. Okay, to write it like this. Now, what is expectation of this? Is basically summation I equal to 1 to n and Fi square. But hey, what happens here? What is an expectation of Yi?
0.
Exactly. So this is why it is tug of R, right? So what is this? This is -1 with probability half and +1 with probability half. So this is 0. So what happens to this term? Will this survive? This term?
No.
This is gone, right? So what are we getting? F2. So we do have an unbiased estimator, by the way. Okay? All good?
So using these pairwise hash families, independent hash, we can do a lot of things, right?
Of course we can.
I mean,
There are a lot of things which we can't do.
okay, yeah, but
Anything which depends only on limited independence, we can do.
yeah,
But anything which requires that all Yi's are like fully independent. So for example, if we would have been trying to construct, I wanted to say expectation of Y1, Y2, YL, right? And all I had is expectation of Yi. So then I want it to be L-wise independent to write it the way I wrote, right? Right?
yeah.
Random variables are far too entangled with each other, right? That limited independence is not sufficient. Okay. But yes, most things many things in computer science we can do with limited independence. Hashings, streaming, distributed algorithm, blah blah.
So basically, all these pairwise independence is important because we want to kill these products
Yes.
in the
to make-
expectation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise understanding or analyzing this probability events becomes very difficult for us.
Yeah.
Right? Or look at or other way. So that's one thing. Or other ways to look at I think the better way of looking at it is the following. Okay. You come up with a randomized algorithm. You try to understand the process. Is my randomization local, global, what it is? And how it depends on other random variables, right? If it interferes them in a local way, then I can de-randomize many of these algorithms by a set of functions, right? Where this kind of local independence is preserved. You get my point? And this is what you exploited to get a deterministic algorithm from MaxCut with guarantee that at least number of edges which are going across is at least half. You get my point?
Yeah.
Right? So it is also a source. It is also, so like you make a randomized algorithm and you now say that, can I make this algorithm only depend locally, or it is only depends on in a limited way among each other so that it is easier to handle. Okay. So it is also a process of de-randomizing an algorithm. All good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any question?
Sir, have we only used pairwise independence? Like, have we used four-way independence? I don't see
Not
four-wise
yet.
independence.
Not
Okay,
yet.
okay.
Not yet. Have patience. Okay? This is what I said. We assume 4 wise and all we use is 2 wise. We also have to compute variance, no? Okay? We'll get there in a minute. Okay? So whatever I just computed, it's all there. So I'll put, okay. What about variance of z square? Look, this also we need to compute, no? Okay. So I will walk you through this little bit. Okay. I don't feel like writing so much. Okay. But let's see. So I'm going to write expectation of Z4. So I'm not going to group them, but I'm going to just go over I, J, K, L and think of this like Fi, Fj, Fkl, expectation of Yi, Yj, Yk, Yl. Okay. Is this fine? Do you think this is equal? What we had, remember, we had summation Fi, Yi to the power whole 4, right? So all the 4 terms will appear, like some square times, some cubic times, like all the 4 multiples with some coefficients. Do you agree? I'm not bothering about those coefficients at this point of time, but you can also write this formula as this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is nothing. This is just a normal algebra. Okay, so what is the 4-wise independence will imply? You tell me. What will 4-wise independent imply? That I can write down this term. Now do you see why are we going to use?
Yeah, we kill all kinds of such products.
No. We have to be careful. Which all gets killed? So first of all, notice that which all products get killed. Those products will kill where only one of those appears. Like for example, I equal to J, okay, or K equal to L. Only those products will get killed. Right? So what I mean, like imagine that one of these indexes appears exactly once, then it will get killed. But it could be that say I equal to J and K equal to L. Then you can't kill it. This is square.
Yes.
So you have to be careful. Okay?
Yeah.
It is expectation of Yi square, expectation of Yl whole square, which behave very differently. But of course you can write down this. But if one of these because why? Because Yi is not independent from Yi itself. You get my point? Yi square is not independent of Yi. So I cannot write down. You understand my point? No. Look,
I get it.
Yes, sir.
for independent,
Yes, sir, we get it.
write it as a product. I, J, K, L should be a different entity, right? I is not equal to J, J not equal to K. They have to be distinct because how can a Y square be independent of Y? It is a dependent random variable. You get my point? Okay. So if one of them appears only one, then I can definitely take it out, okay, and put it 0. So what happens then? If there's a number among I, J, K, L that occurs only one, then this is 0. Okay. You get my point? So now, otherwise, what I mean by 1, otherwise it is 1. So now what I mean by this is that, look, so the terms which survives here is those where Yi, Yj, Yk, like I equal to J, equal to K, equal to L, those will survive, or two of them are equal, like Ij is equal, Kl is equal, or Ik is equal, Jl is equal, so on and so forth. Agreed? Okay. Now let's count how many such terms are there. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to write this. So all gets cancelled. Who all survives? I equal to n, Fi to the power 4 will survive because expectation of something is same, right? And why I said expectation of others are 1? Because look, what is an expectation of Yi square? It takes +1. It only takes +1, right?
Yes, sir.
What is right? Because Yi takes -1 + 1, but Yi square takes just 1 other end. And what is the probability of taking +1? Is +1. Look, Yi takes -1 with probability half, right? What does Yi square takes? Yi square takes just 1. And what is the probability of taking 1? It will
1.
take 1 even when it takes -1. It takes +1 even. So the probability that Y square takes 1 is 1. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, now now I'm trying to write down these square terms. So if you noticed, I'm going to write like a distinct product, I equal to 1 to n, j equal to I plus 1 to n, fi square, fj square. But how many times? Look, these could occur in any permutation here, right? So this is like 4 choose 2, which is, I think, 6, no? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
6. So this is where this 6 comes. So it could occur in any permutation of equality, right? In this summation, right? And now we are writing like a distinct product, like I equal to 1 to n, j equal to I plus 1 to n, okay? Okay, so now let's see what happens. Okay, so this sounds very bit messy. So let me write down something here. Okay, so let's see what is f2 square. Summation fi square whole square summation fi to the power 4 plus 2 times summation I less than j fi square fj square. Agreed? Okay. And so this is summation fi4 plus 2 times summation I equal to 1 to n, n summation j equal to I plus 1 to n fi square fj square. Okay. So this is nothing but f4 times 2 times summation I equal to 1 to n fi square fj square. So this is what I'm doing. So what is the variance of z square? Is the expectation of z4 minus this. Now, right? So let's see. What did we computed expectation of z4? We just computed in the previous slide, right? This one. This quantity plus this quantity. So what is this? This is f4. Agreed? Plus 6 times this. So this appears f4 and 6 times this. Okay. And what is expectation of z square was f2. So this is like f2 square. Okay. Now what is f2 square? I can write it like this. So this is this plus this, which is like this f4 and this f4 will get cancelled. And what you get is this. Now this is like some terms here, like fi square, fj square, but this is like, you get my point. This is like less than f2 whole square. So because what is f2? See, what was f2 whole square? So f2 whole square is nothing but this term, like you see here, this term plus something, right? So this can only be smaller than f2 whole square. Okay. So this is all that it is, nothing happening. But the point to notice is that what are we able to show? Variance of z square is how much? 2 times f2 square. Is it good for us? What is variance? It is just twice the expectation square, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Then it's good for us because standard deviation is just expectation.
Yeah.
Constant time expectation. So we can achieve a constant factor approximation in just log n space, right? So we can reduce variance by averaging some 8 over epsilon square independent estimates, right? And then you can show that this is epsilon times f2 by at most 1 by 4. So this is what we achieved, that you don't need to do more than order 1 over epsilon square samples to get to a constant probability. And then you can do and you are just keeping one number. So in total, you will take log 1 over delta 1 over epsilon square log n space. Okay. Any question here? It was not too much. It was quite nice algorithm. Any question?
No, sir.
Anybody? Nobody has any question? Good. Okay, fine. Let's move ahead. So there is some geometric interpretation of why this algorithm actually works well. Okay. So the estimation algorithm works even when FIs could be negative. What does this mean? You get my point? Look, up until now, I have told you that these EIs belongs to some integer 1 to n. Okay. But the estimation algorithm for FI square actually works even when it is negative. If we just go and look slightly closely inside this. And what I mean by this, let me come. So we could also ask for much richer model than what we have been studying up until now. And what I mean by this, so you want to estimate a function of vector x in Rn, which is initially assumed to be all 0 vectors, like 0, 0, 0, okay? And so we were only thinking about frequency vector before, but now let's forget. So frequency vectors are like one kind of vector in Rn, but there are other vectors in Rn, okay? And each element aj of a stream is a tuple ij comma delta j, where ij is in 1 to n, and delta I is some real number, real value. And how do you make a change? So you make a change. So now you will give me tuple. So basically this tells the index, and it tells me how much changes do I need to make, okay? So I will have this, so I will change, okay, fine. I'm going to make some, let's say, okay, some changes here, okay, based on that. So for example, if I had say 5 comma 10, what will that mean? What will that mean? You go to the 5th coordinate and add plus 10, okay? Someone could have given me, hey, I comma minus 5. Oh, then I will go to the ith index, and someone is telling me to add minus f, okay? So up until now, all we were doing was this f2 was summation fi square, but now say I am interested in xi square, I equal to 1 to n. And we will show to you that whatever algorithm we just now saw, it works. And so what was the model in which we were working? We can think of the model which we were working before, is that what was 5 came. What is the meaning of this? Basically, it meant that go to the 5th index, okay, and increment by plus 1. So if 5 came, basically we can think of that as it is asking go to 5th index and add it to by plus 1, okay? Okay. So let's go and revisit the algorithm which we just now made, okay? So let y1 to yn be this -1 plus 1 random variable that are 4 byte independent. This we will use it as a hash function 4 byte. While a stream is not empty and you have this index and update, so what are you going to do? Well, you go to the Z and you update to Z the delta J changes and Yij. So for example, your update could be 2 comma 5.3, 10 comma 1.9, 1 comma say minus 5.7. It could be anything. And at the end, you have some x bar, which is like x1, x2, dot, 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 xn. And what I'm interested in is computing x1 square. Okay. So my objective is to estimate x2 whole square, where x is the vector at the end of the stream of updates. Okay. And this is our proposed algorithm. And why it is correct, why it is fine? Well, you now write your analysis is like xi to the power yi and output is z square. Well, will anything change? Well, expectation y square is still 1. Expectation of each variable is 0. So this is going to be 0 because expectation of yi, yj equal to 0. And since it is yi square is going to be always 1 with probability 1. So this is what you're going to get. Agreed? Okay. All good, right? Up until now, nothing happens. Okay. Let's come do the variance calculation. Again, nothing would happen in variance calculation. We can, as before, we can show that variance of z square is 2 times expectation of z square whole square. That's great. This is all that we always wanted anyway. So this will lead to, so you get my point? This idea that, now we can move away from this just positive quantity update to something different leads to a completely different understanding of how we think about all this streaming algorithm and what more can we do in the streaming algorithm. So this, in that sense, this estimate for F2 was quite a breakthrough in that sense that it led us to, even much richer model and this and that. Now let's do some, okay. So what we do F2 estimation as kind of linear sketch. And what I mean by linear sketch. So let me tell you what I mean by linear sketch. Okay, let me. Okay. So this much be understood. Okay. And by the way, this is what is called L2 norm. Okay. This is exactly what is L2 norm. So this is basically norm estimation. Okay. Okay. So what is a sketch of a stream? Is a summary data structure, seed, ideally of small space, such that, so for example, so what happens is that like is a sketch which is a composition, and so the sketch of composition sigma 1 dot sigma 2. So if you have something computed sigma 1, something computed sigma 2, and you have some this is C of row 1, C of row 2, then you should just be able to combine them. Okay. So, and the output of algorithm is some function of the sketch. So basically a sketch, you should think of the object or the data or the information of the stream that you have stored. And what property we want? I want it to compose. It means, imagine that you have some data, like some data structure which somehow stores the information of the first part of the stream, and you have a data structure that stores the second part of the stream. Then by some linear combination of these, you should be able to get a sketch for the whole object. So for example, let me ask yourself, what is a summary of algorithm for F2 estimation? Okay. So what will we be storing? A value Z, right? So suppose I had some sigma 1 and sigma 2. For that, I stored Z1 and Z2. And what would be returning? Z1 square and Z2 square. Now suppose I get sigma 1 and sigma 2, and Z is like Z1, Z2, and now I return this Z square. Is it good? Is it a good? But well, no. What can happen? But suppose you compute this sigma 1, this sketch, with some hash function h, okay? And you do with respect to the same hash function h, the sigma 2, then this is great, because then it doesn't matter because h is fixed. Whenever item came, you knew what to multiply with it, or like add plus or minus 1. So if I use the same hash function to compute sigma 1, like the value Z1 with respect to sigma 1, if I compute Z2 with respect to for same h, then I can definitely compose. Then there is absolutely no issue that we cannot compose. And so you get my point. So these are the kind of object which is called linear sketch. If this is some function like C of row 1 plus C of row 2, and it could be any linear combination. It is nothing to be just the way we added, but it allows linear sketch if a sketches of composition is just the sum of the two sketches. Okay. Okay. So is the sketch for F2 estimation a linear sketch? Right. So there are various ways of thinking of this. So think of this, your hash function is like, here you have y1, y2, yn, and you have +1, -1, +1, -1. And here your vector x, okay? Now, right, here the vector sketch, vector, and what is your z bar? Z bar is basically, what are you storing of z bar? So given this x, right, it's basically in some sense, it's a dot product of this vector, right? Is that correct? Right? So what are you storing? It's basically a dot product of this hash function with this vector x. This is what you're storing as your z. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Right? So
Yeah.
at any point of time, this is precisely what is happening here. So basically, this is nothing but m x bar equal to some z bar, where m is your this matrix 1 cross n. And what is since it's a matrix, what is the property of x1 bar, x2 bar? It's basically mx1 bar plus mx2 bar. So we could think of our algorithm also as like a matrix that is trying to build over this x bar. Okay, and I will tell you how to update this. Okay, but okay, no. Okay, I think I have some redundancy in slides, so let me go. Okay. So now, so let's just talk about some general technique of linear sketching. Okay. So general technique of sketching is like you take a higher dimensional vector x in Rn. Okay. It applies to that. And you rather don't store the whole x in Rn. That's too huge to compute. But you rather store pi x in memory for some matrix. So basically you store some vector, like some object, like pi x, right? So you multiply your vector x with this matrix pi x, and you store this. But the good property of this is like m is very, very small. So at any point of time, what are you storing in your memory is like pi x. So suppose pi is like m cross n, right? And my x is n cross n. What are we storing then? What is pi x? What is the dimension of pi x? If I have a m cross n matrix,
Cross 1.
exactly. So although x could be a very large n-dimensional vector, but object which we will store is much smaller, and it is basically a m cross 1 vector. So we could also think of linear sketching algorithm as something which okay. We could also think of this as like something which does dimension reduction, right? So if pi has a succinct representation, meaning we want to spend much smaller mn space to store, but there's a low memory algorithm to compute pi ij given ij. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Look, I mean, whenever I give you index I and j, you should be able to produce what pi ij is, right? Otherwise, how will I do my computation, right? So not only pi has a succinct representation, it has also a very low memory algorithm to compute some value pi ij if I need it. Okay, and so you can think that sketch reduces the representation of x from n units of memory to some m units of memory, which is much smaller than n. And we will see many such examples in next 1 or 2 days. Okay, and this technique is commonly used in the design of streaming algorithm and distributed algorithm. So so linear sketching is also an example of, let's say, what can I say? It's a very good example of also dimension reduction. Okay, now some question. So in this model, what is that? We wanted to estimate a function of vector x in Rn, which is initially assumed to be all zeros vector. And each element xj of a stream is a tuple ij delta j, where ij is in n and some real value, and you want to update ijth coordinate to this. How will you go about doing it? Okay. So before I tell you how to update these things, let me tell you some models which people have studied. So if delta j is always greater than or equal to 0, this is what is called cash register model. Okay, and this is called cash register because if you go to any grocery shop person, look, in his register, it's never negative. It's only always greater than or equal to 0. Okay, and this is a special case is when delta j equal to 1. But there's delta j. So what I mean is like updates are always non-negative. Okay, like positive, strictly positive. But there's another update which is called delta j is arbitrary. So update could be negative, no problem. But the vector x, okay, vector x is always positive, is always greater than or equal to 0. This is called strict Turnstile model. So for example, look at graph algorithms, right? Either you're going to add an edge or you're going to delete an edge, right? So if your edge set is your like x, then are you going to delete any edge ever? Like, is it going to be like x can never be 0, but +1 will denote add an edge, -1 will denote delete an edge. Okay, so this is why strict Turnstile model is a very good example, and it is used quite a lot in reality. And then of course we have this Turnstile model or dynamic model where you can delete, increment, like you can update with negative quantities as well as you can update with positive quantity. And another model which people study is what is called sliding window model. So like think of this, that you have your stream is infinitely long. Okay, so you cannot you cannot view the whole thing. So you are only worried about computing the function of last W item seen. So these are the different models people have studied in streaming, right? So you could have, you have only positive updates. You have a positive updates, but the vector itself is always positive. But you have, you have an arbitrary updates, but the vector is always positive. You have any update and anything, and it is sliding window model. So there are like different kind of things people have studied in this. Okay. So what I wanted to tell you that how do in the Turnstile model or in the model, so how do you update? So there is something very beautiful happening. Okay. So you have this vector which you have stored, some x1, x2, say xn. So this is something which you are storing somehow compactly. So basically what you're storing is basically pi times x. Okay. And now delta j came, sorry, and now you have updated like, oh, make some changes, delta j to ijth coordinate. So how can I view this as a matrix? So basically, suppose I have pi x already stored. So then I can think of this as like, okay, so pi x, this is the matrix, and this is my changes, which is like pi x. Now, this is nothing but eij delta j. So basically, to this vector, what am I adding? I'm adding to the ijth coordinate update delta j. So what is ij? So you multiply with this standard basis where ijth vector is 1 and 0 otherwise. So if you take delta j, then this is basically, and then you are going to add them up. But now the question is, how are you going to achieve this? So basically what you want to achieve is you want to compute pi x eij delta j, which is nothing but pi x plus delta j pi ij. Well, if you can generate me, so what is this? Basically what, if you can generate me the ijth column efficiently, then what can I do? Then I can compute this vector correctly, no? So this is why, oh, I will tell you, give me the first coordinate of this column, okay? Then you take this. Give me the second entry of this column, right? And so on and so forth. If you can generate this column, then I can store this column and take this and add it to my mth length vector, because m is much smaller than n. You get my point? So if we had an algorithm who can generate the column as we want, not the full matrix, then for small updates, this is good enough for our purposes. Is this point clear to all of you? Or if you have a question?
That's clear.
Okay, this is nothing big happening. Look, so you want to make a change to one coordinate. So if you do that, so if you have a matrix multiplication, then this is only going to affect one particular column of the matrix. And if you can generate that efficiently, good for you. Okay. Okay. And so this is how you make changes. Okay. So pi x becomes, update happens, pi x plus delta time pi ij, where pi is this. Okay. And so essentially it becomes adding multiples of pi I, which is easy in streaming, right? If I can generate pi I efficiently, the column efficiently. Okay. 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 So now my last thing that I want to tell you, can we view our F2 estimate as and take this median and all this as a sketch? So yes, this is very easy. So what you do is very simple, is that how do you make this matrix? This is a matrix which is going to be of dimension L cross N. This is a matrix which you're going to keep in your head, okay? But you're never going to write it down. Where, think of this way, that like you're going to generate not one hash functions, but how many hash function? L hash functions, okay? So each row is given by separate hash function. So now, how many bits will you store for H1? It's a 4-wise independent random variable. So 4 log n bits. So how many bits we have? 4L log n bits, okay? Now suppose if I wanted to generate some column, how can I generate? Well, suppose this is I. So this is the four numbers for hash 1. This is the 4 numbers for hash 2, so on and so forth. So all I want is some H1i, H2i, HLi. Well, this I can compute, right? And hence I can compute my Lth column amazingly, right? So this is what I mean by the compact representation of this matrix M. So this matrix is nothing but M is an L cross N matrix where each row is indexed by a hash function, and it basically stores at that I, what is it? +1 or -1, right? But we don't need to keep the whole matrix. Whenever an entry comes, right, I can generate this column and then take the dot product with this and add it to Z, okay? And this is why vector Z is a sketch, okay? So M is compactly represented by L hash function, 1 per row, independently chosen from 4 by independent hash family, okay? So if you give this as a sketch, what do you return as a L2 estimate? What will you return as an L2 estimate? Tell me, what will you return as a sketch, as a L2 sketch? So J did sketch, but that is not what you are going to return as a as your possible F2 value. What will you return as a possible F2 value? Median.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because we are, independent estimators. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have several independent estimators. So what is a good thing to do? Return the median. That's it. Okay.
Median.
Yeah. So now you notice, right? Before we were only doing we were doing exactly the same thing. So now you have got a sketch. You have several things, and you look at this, and you just return the median of that as your possible answer. Okay. Good. So sketching has many powerful applications, both theory and practice. Okay. And particularly linear sketches are very powerful. You can handle negative entry and deletion. And surprisingly, linear sketches are feasible in many several settings. So streaming algorithm is one such setting. And this is a roadway to other important items in big data, which is like dimension reduction, like Johnson-Lindstall lemma, or subspace embedding, other important topics like core sets and all this. This is from where things goes and flow. Okay, so in that sense, this F2 estimation and thinking it from the linear linear sketch perspective is very important and interesting. Okay, so I think that's all that I want to tell you about this sketches. So you will see many more sketches in the last two lectures, and Fahad will take those. Okay, any question? Because with this, I like to end my lecture for the today.
So at 2:30, Professor Fahad will come, right?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
So that lecture by this, so on the last day, we had some lectures by Microsoft Research, right? This is one of them, right? That you posted in the. Okay.
Yeah, because look, I have to also fix them based on their timings, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
one guy replied, so I put it on Friday. This is the time he's free, so he will be lecturing at 12:15 on Friday. Yes.
So we will have other lectures as well by Microsoft.
May not be people from Microsoft Research, but from different set of peoples, not me.
Sure.
Not
Yeah.
me. You will just see me one more day, and then you will not see me. It's okay. 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 Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So, could the slides be posted on the Google Drive?
Yeah, I'll just put it now. I like before 2:30. I'll go back and check what all things are there, what all things are not there. I'll post it everything. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make sure that everything is up to date. Okay. Good. Okay. Bye bye.